everybody, welcome back. I hope everybody is having a great week. So the last video I forgot to remind you guys, but I will remind you today that I am not here to destroy anybody or to put anybody down. I'm just speaking the true facts. I'm just being real with you guys, and that is it. And sorry for any commotion or talking, laughing, crying, giggling. I'm currently watching my son as I film, so I am multitasking. This video, it's gonna be focused on my high school days. High school was really crazy intense for me. What I went through in high school mainly was just a lot of mental and emotional abuse. For those of you who may not know, I have been dealing with depression and anxiety since I was in middle school, and I honestly didn't even know what was going on with me until I was in college, but that is for next time. All throughout high school, I always had trouble getting up. I missed school a lot, guys, and I mean a lot. My senior year was the worst. My school actually sent a letter to my mother telling her that they were gonna take her to court if I wasn't going to school. That's when I really got in trouble, and my mom told me that I need to start going. Something I want to add into this video, I wasn't able to bring it up in the last video just because it was already super long. Right before I went into high school, I finally spoke up about what happened to me with my mom's boyfriend. And I had told my dad's side of the family. And the only reason why it escalated or how it got to that point was because I didn't tell you guys, but while my father was locked up, I would write to him because he would always write to me and my brothers, but no one ever wanted to write to him or read the letters. But me, I always felt this connection with my father. I wrote multiple letters to him. Finally, it was probably like the summer, I wrote to my father and I told him how I was being treated here at home. What he did was he told one of my uncles who lives in Colorado, and he actually came all the way to our house here in California, in LA, and he came knocking on my mom's door to tell me if he could take me and my siblings over to another aunt and uncle's house. So we went. We were all having a good time with the whole family. Right before we were about to leave, I walk into my aunt's dining room, and all the girls who were there that day were literally all sitting at my aunt's table. They were all holding each other, and they asked me if I could sit down and if there was anything I needed to tell them. I already knew my dad set that up, and I was super happy. I was so happy. It finally got the attention that this needed. And right away I broke down and I started crying. I remember my aunt put her hand on my hand, and I just told him the truth, what happened that night, what he tried to do, what he did to me, what he told me, and what I did after, how I told my mother, what she told me. And so they told me that if I wanted to stay over, stood over. I want to say this because I know I'm not the only one who has been in this situation. That whole time, throughout this whole thing that went down, my siblings and my mother would always put me down. I'm like basically being a drama queen. I'm being a crybaby. They were basically putting all the blame on me when they didn't even know what was going on. My mom was still sugarcoating it and going along and agreeing with everything my brothers were saying without even her telling them why all of this was going down. I've been hiding under this hole, and she's over here letting this man abuse me mentally and emotionally. They would always put me down, talk shit to me about things that didn't even make sense or things that didn't even relate to me. Finally, one of my aunts told my oldest brother, but she didn't actually tell him the truth. She ended up telling me to go into the room and
to sit down and talk to my brother because he wanted to talk to me, and he was emotionally a mess. So I walked in there, and yes, he was crying. He was a hot mess. I sat down and he told me, why didn't I tell him? And I told him because my mom told me not to tell anybody. And of course, I'm gonna listen to my mom. He told me to call my mom, put her on speaker, and he told her I know what her boyfriend did to me and that he was not okay with it, and he wanted him out of the house by the time we got home that day. And she said okay, that was it. He hung up on her. Oh my God, I thought like, this is really gonna happen. Like, he's finally gonna get out of my life, as I thought. So we got home and my mom lied. He was still there. And they both called me to come into their room because they both wanted to talk to me. Just a reminder, guys, I made it loud and clear to my mother when I was in 7th grade that I wanted nothing to do with that man. I was done talking to him. I was done having him in my life. Like, he's not my real father. He never will be. He better not ever try to be, because he's nothing. He is nothing to me. Till this day, she and him cannot get that into their head, and it pisses me off, especially because nobody else understands and gets my point. Do they not understand? A father, a real father, should not and should never ever cross lines of abuse with their child. And it goes as far as to a mother as well. Any parent guardian of a child should not cross any abusive boundaries. So what ended up happening was my brother asked me if I wanted him to go in with me, and I said yes. He was holding my hand. My mom's boyfriend tells me, like, I told you sorry. Like, wasn't that enough? Till this day, and people need to understand too, saying sorry to someone doesn't mean that the person needs to forgive you. Yes, I have forgiven everybody, even without telling them, but my actions tell otherwise. Like, I've forgiven all these people, but I will never forget. And just because I've forgiven you doesn't mean that I'm gonna let you come back into my life, because there is boundaries, there's breaking points, and I've had it. And at that very moment, my older brother jumped in right away and said, sorry isn't enough. I basically didn't even talk. It was my older brother who was doing all the talking, and he made it loud and clear to both of them that he didn't want him in the house anymore and that he had to go. He left for only a week. A few days later, when my mom's boyfriend had left, he, my mother, and my older brother, we were talking, and my brother brought up what happened to me. And my brother told me, did he rape you? And I said, no, he didn't rape me. He tried to. And this is what gets me every time, guys. He said, then it doesn't matter. That it doesn't matter. That cut in so many different levels. And I want people to know, no matter how you got assaulted, because there's different forms of being sexually assaulted, just know that it matters. It matters. To me, it matters. To me, it will always matter. So many people have came forward to me and have told me, people say these things all the time to people who have been assaulted. And a lot of these people tell them as well not to tell others that this information that happened to them, that it should be kept quiet. No, those people are the people you need to cut out of your life, because those are people who are not looking what is best for you. After that, my brother ended up telling my mom, like, you know, tell him to come back. So me, what I have always done was just focus in school. Since I was a little girl, I knew the way I was gonna get out of this was by going to college. Since I was in elementary, I would go to a boys and girls club, but I didn't really get super involved until I was in middle school. I would go out, help out the community, play basketball. I joined this program called Keystone, as well as Youth of the Year. When I was in 8th grade, I joined this program called Upper Bound. In high school, I joined basketball. I also joined a club. I also was taking my college class courses throughout high school. This whole time too, with Upper Bound, every weekend and every summer until I graduated from high school, I would go to Cal State LA, the university, to take classes to get ahead. I really put myself out there in academics. I took a trip my sophomore year in high school up north visiting multiple universities, and it was a one-time experience, and my mom told me no because her boyfriend told her no. I told her I don't want him controlling me. Every decision that my mom makes, I only want her to make that decision, not for her to go and ask him, because he is nothing to me. But she would never get that. And I literally had to fight to go. Since I was a little girl, my mom would always tell me that she wanted me to be better than who she was. To actually graduate high school and going to college would be even bigger, because in her family, no one has ever gone. And I talked to my high school mentor from the Boys and Girls Club. He got other people to come and talk to my mom to make her understand that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, something that I'd be exposed to colleges, like I would have an early foot in. So I know what to expect, what to do when that time comes when I need to apply. After they came and spoke to my mom and broke it down to her and told her, she told me afterwards when they left that she's gonna let me go, because she did tell me that she wanted me to be better than who she ever was, and this is something she never got to experience and she would want me to. Throughout high school, I got so many awards, nominated for so many things, and like with basketball, we have banquets, games. She never was there. She never was there to show up for any of my accomplishments. I always felt like an outcast. It hurt, but I kept pushing and I kept working because I knew my end result. My end result was to leave, to go off to college. And I just want other people to know, no matter what you're going through, no matter how hard it is, just keep pushing. I had my breaking point. My junior year, things were getting really heated here at home. I ended up running away from home. I was so depressed. Like, I didn't even realize how depressed I was until I was in college and I actually really learned what depression was. Because to me, honestly guys, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not gonna front. To me, I thought depression was more of people who just cut themselves or try killing themselves, that was all depression was. But it's more to it. People can say all this stuff and say, you just gotta do it, you just gotta get out of bed, but sometimes it's not that simple. It's not that simple sometimes. It depends too how severe someone has depression. It's a whole scale. It's not just depression is this, it's a whole more wider spectrum. But I didn't know that. All this time when my family was telling me all this crap, like, damn, you're such a crybaby, what is wrong with you? Because I always got that. They always told me, like, damn, what's wrong with you? And that always killed me inside, because I always thought I was the problem. And no, you are not the problem. You are not the problem. I am not the problem. And it took me years to figure that out. And that really destroys somebody, especially when it comes from your own family and they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. But what ended up happening after I ran away, 2 of my brothers ended up going to look for me. My 2 brothers found me laying on the floor trying to sleep. And my brother ended up telling me, he told me, you know, like, just to come inside, to come home. He told me with every success story, there is a struggle. Majority of people who have succeeded, they have struggled. And so he told me, you know, just remember that. don't let my whole life go down the drain. I just started crying and I hugged him and I told him, all right. The BS still continued. I decided to take it further. I ended up calling one of my aunts and uncle, asking them if we could meet up because I wanted to talk to them. I met up with them and I told them what was going on. I asked them if I could live with them. They were cool with it, just that I would need to get my mother's permission. And I said, okay. Afterwards, when I talked to them, I came back home and I sat my mom down and I told her, I can't take it anymore. Like, I can't live here with you guys anymore. I told her I talked to my aunt and my uncle and they were cool with it, that if I could go and just live with them until I take off to college. She said no, she didn't want me to go. And I told her, well, things need to change here because I'm not happy. I'm not happy. She agreed. She stopped being mean for a while. It's still continuing. But it did stop until I left to college. But it was a whole different game afterwards. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys, just so whoever's watching this can know it was more to than just hurtful words, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything that was told to me, but just know it was really mean, ruthless things that were told to me by both parties, my mother and her boyfriend. But I had to get a job in high school because my mom, she wouldn't buy me necessary things that I needed. For instance, we all know women get their period. I would tell her, and if she didn't have any pads, she would tell me, well, I can't buy it for you. Also, when it came to food, sometimes I would come home and all the food would be eaten, so I didn't have anything to eat for dinner, and she didn't care. There was times, days, weeks where she wouldn't even talk to me, and so I had to find a way to make my own money. What I ended up doing, I ended up asking my mentor if he can help me out, so I got a job under the table. And what I ended up doing was, the money that I would get, I would buy bags of chips and sell at school, and that's how I kept the income to continue to come. It was real. It was real. So hope you guys all continue to strive for the best, and know it's okay to have those bad days. Always remember to keep on going with your head held high, with a smile on your face, no matter what.